Go have some fun with this. Okay, good. Go ahead, John.
All right, guys. So welcome to the Fireside Chat. Just as you're all big center of pressure enthusiasts and with the and thought leaders, I'd say I just want to open it up, talk a little bit about center of pressure, how you're using it in your instruction, how you're using it in your businesses, and what you're finding helpful, maybe some challenges that you're encountering. So kind of open concept here, just lead it off, anything that comes to mind.
You'll start.
Yeah.
So after using the BodiiTrak, I would say I would call myself more of a motion teacher versus a position teacher. Focused a lot from the belt buckle down to change people's COP traces, and results have been very good.
So do you find that when students first get onto the mat, do they have kind of an awareness of how they're moving? You know, how is it something that they recognize instantly?
They have no clue. They have no clue what 50-50 is. They have no clue about heel-toe motion. It actually makes them surprised. And the first question I always get, especially from females, is, "It's going to show me my weight?"
Yeah.
And I tell them, no. So it's all pressure. I always say it's just think you're on a Dr. Scholl's commercial. But I think the big thing I see is again, from the belt buckle down, feet tell the hips, hips tell the shoulders, shoulders tell the hands, and again you got yourself a good sequence.
I was always big on backswing playing. Some people consider me one of the best teachers in the country when it comes to impact. And I found out that BodiiTraks, I don't worry too much about the backswing anymore. I feel like the person takes the club back a little bit too much inside, a little bit too outside. The most important thing, and I agree with Mark, that as long as you apply the right pressure in your forward motion, you get that pressure right, it kind of takes care of itself. I do find, since I use BodiiTraks, I never realized how many people address the ball on the toe, too much on the heel, 70% the left foot, 80% the right foot. So just balancing out their address position, to me, has been a tremendous help.
So you find that it's almost like a simplification. So allowing the student to focus on this one part of their swing is letting some of the other pieces fall into place rather than trying to focus on all of these things at once.
Well, let me put it this way. Sam Snead said to me one time, I asked Sam, what do you do when you were young and you were struggling? He said, Ted, the first thing I looked at was my address position, my setup, my weight distribution, and my takeaway. And guess what? I never got to my takeaway. So by applying the right pressure and the address position on BodiiTrak, getting people 55-45 with an iron on the left side, short iron, maybe 55-45 with the right side with the driver, it's been an eye-opener for me. I didn't realize how many people are so far off in their balance of address.
A lot of people have a lack of awareness, to Mark's point, about what is going on during their swing. What I think is kind of a revolution, if you will, to go back to years ago, we talked about footwork, but we never measured it. And now we're coming back to footwork, and it's a revolution in golf instruction to see how much you can use someone's interaction with the ground, how that can influence their low point of their swing, where the club bottoms out, how it can influence the direction of this pressure shift, can influence the path of their swing, is staggering. When folks get on it, they have no idea at first, again, just like Mark said, but it is amazing how quickly they can start to feel what's going on there and how quickly they can change it. So I've been using it for 2 years. I use it every single day. It's awesome.
I think that going along with what they're saying, the communication between the teacher and the student has really improved. One of the things that I think we've all experienced is we might say to a student, for instance, I want you this way, I want you for a chipping, I want you this much on your front side, your lead side. Now we know it, now we can see it, and we can see how the student interprets that, where they might be too much and it doesn't look like it, or they may not be enough, but now we can measure it for sure, we can say it, we can tell them what we want, and vice versa, they can see what they're doing, and they always have this aha moment on their face when they see it live on the screen.
We're both big in self-discovery, and it's really kind of cool to let somebody explore on this with the monitor in front of them and see what they can pull from. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because self-discovery helps so much with retention, right? It's like the classic thing, if you can discover it yourself, the likelihood of you remembering when you come back a week later, a month later, 2 months later, much, much higher. So James, I just want to pick up on something you mentioned there, which is talk a lot about cause and effect in the golf swing. And so using technology like this to identify both what might be causing an effect, a certain effect in the golf swing, and then really focusing on that cause, working on it. So just, again, opening it up to everyone, I know you mentioned a little bit there, just as some examples of some of those cause-effect relationships that you've worked on using BodiiTrak.
Well, I know I've had this one student who, when she was hitting the ball, she had a lot of problems with, as we all do, distance. She wasn't hitting the ball very far. And one of the things she noted was with all of her clubs, she was not hitting the ball very high. And so when I had her on the, you could see her when she would set up, she looked like a very decent golfer. And so without the mat, who knows? You could have looked at club face angle, you could have looked at the lofts on her club, what's she doing? And the minute she got on the mat, and we looked at it, even though she looked like she was setting up rather like a good golfer, it turns out that she was significantly forward. And when I say forward, I don't mean 60%, 70%. She was, if I remember correctly, measuring at about 88% on her front foot, on her lead foot. That's a lot, and yet she looked normal. And so what happened is when we got her to move back a little bit, so that she was setting up at about 60% on her lead foot. Ball flight went up dramatically. She said she felt a lot more freedom. And the funny thing is that when she set up to the golf ball, she thought she was way over here, even though she was still measuring a 60% pressure on her lead side. So what you're feeling initially versus how it's being measured makes a big deal. So if I'm telling her just verbally, I want you to feel like you're a little bit more, some students may go, okay, but they might be resistant to it. And just the fact that they could get that immediate feedback, okay, this is telling me everything's all right.
So Mark, a few minutes ago we were talking about a drill that you came up with, which was really focusing on that lead leg. So maybe just talk a little bit about why you think that's important, some of the changes you've seen with some of your students in focusing on the lead leg.
I'd say using the BodiiTrak was probably the missing ingredient, because for the longest time you thought you knew what was going on. So gave us BodiiTrak, gave us flight scope, all that technology I have. The BodiiTrak sort of put everything together, and it led me in the direction of how much pressure that needs to go in the lead foot in the impact position. What is a pressure transfer? What is a weight transfer? It cleaned up a lot of gray areas that there's still discussion amongst all the forums that people actually get the terminology wrong. And the BodiiTrak, which is a vertical pressure measuring device, it teaches you that when you sort of stomp your feet up and down, you're shifting your pressure. But again, the interesting thing is a lot of people's left foot is airborne when they hit the golf ball, especially with the driver, so it shows you how hard they're jumping. And if that drill, I don't know how I came up, but lighted up red, is when I push down that foot really hard, I've seen significant improvement with contact and distance. The more the left foot got lit up red towards the ball of their foot, the harder they pushed up, the harder they hit it. And again, the nice thing it did, it cleaned up a lot of myths versus facts.
So Ted, the drill that you took us through again a few minutes ago seemed to be really focused on, for lack of a better word, efficiency of transfer, efficiency of transition. So maybe talk a little bit about that and maybe some different golfers who you've seen who've been very good at doing that, and how you find that translates to instruction there.
Let me give you an example. I gave a lesson this past Saturday to one of my top female players, 16-year-old girl. And she was coming to the ball steep, and she had a little flip of the ball. The ball was starting way out to the right, flipping her hands over. She was steep but holding onto the club because she knew she was going to hit it left. So the drill that I developed, the ball drill and the shaft throw drill, it did two things. It gave her, for the first time, the feel of the pressure in the front foot. Also slowed her down because her hips go so fast. I was able to slow her hips down a lot, keeping her hips more to the right. And then by throwing the shaft or the ball at the last moment, all of a sudden, when I put it in frame to frame and side by side view, her impact was fantastic. She said to me, why isn't the ball going left? I said, because your sequencing is correct. I said, you got the pressure in your front foot, and look at impact. I said, look, the impact is fantastic. So you now have the club face squared impact, you got that straight line at the ball, matching the left leg. And I said, you've been able to do that in the past, but with the short irons, now you're doing it with the full swing. So she was able to create a tremendous amount of feel with the ball drill and the shaft throw drill. And when we put it to the golf swing, her dad said to me, BodiiTrak. He said, BodiiTrak is going to take her to a higher, it's a game changer for her. He actually said BodiiTrak is a game changer for her.
Beautiful. Well, thanks guys, James, John, Ted, Mark. Thank you for hosting us today, Merion. This is John Thorp from BodiiTrak. Really appreciate your time and all that you're doing for golf.